Hello, welcome back in this series where we're talking about HTML and HTML5. So, like I've said before, this whole series is about using free code camp to learn the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So, the first part we're starting started with HTML. So, I'll just give us a brief introduction to how free code camp space works, so that if you open an account and you get started, then it's just easy for you to follow along with me. So when you log into HTML free code camp and you get started, so you're presented with a screen like this. So for instance, if I go to maybe you go to freecodecamp.org and you create an account. So this is where you come to. Then you click on Let's Get Started. So when you click on Let's Get Started, then it takes you to the Learn platform. So this is the Learn, where it has different courses. You can go through some of these courses and learn from them, which is amazing. But what I'm going to be doing is starting with responsive web design, and then we're starting with basic HTML5. So I've gone through what HTML is and the definition. So if you need some kind of explanation about this, watch the previous video. And along the way also I'll be explaining some more in-depth stuff about HTML. So for this particular video, we're going to go from I think we get to do like up to like 5 up to introduction to HTML5 elements. So I think that would be a very good chunk to do in this series. So when you get started, you click on say hello, for instance, then it's going to take you to this page. And the way free code can work is amazing. So you have this explanation here about what to do. So you have a space where you can write your code, and you can see the results of your test here. And then whatever you code in here, you can see the results straightforward here. It's so amazing. So it helps you to be able to like practice, and then you can see the result of your practice. Is that not cool? Great. So, and these are all the explanations for each exercise or each lessons, and then you can practice, and then you can run your code here, and then you could see the result of what you're doing. So basically that's how free code camp works. So in this lesson is say hello to HTML elements. So what are HTML elements? In the past I explained before that HTML are called hypertext markup language. So these are markup that you use to present your information to a web browser. So how do you tell a web browser this is a paragraph, this is a break line, this is a quote, this is a bold, this is supposed to be italic, this is supposed to be bullet point, this is supposed to be underline. So those are the things that HTML elements give us opportunity to do, to represent our data or information to the web browser. So now in this, you can see this here, we have this h1, and then you have this hello here, and you have this h1 close. So how does this even work? So I'll just zoom in a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing. So let me go back a little, like once. Yeah, so you can just see this screen very well. So you have this h1. So if you over this, they have MDN reference, which is good. What is MDN? So MDN is called Mozilla Developer Network Reference. So Mozilla is an amazing platform, and they are the one that built Mozilla. Is it Firefox? Yeah, it's amazing. Web browser. So for me, I call MDN the Bible for web developer. So if you're a web developer, you're just getting started, I would advise that you go to MDN. So if you click on this and you click on this link, it will just take you to MDN directly. So MDN is going to explain what this H1 is all about. So H1 is basically the HTML section heading element. So H1 to H, they are H1 to H6. So they give us like heading, like it's like, for instance, when you're in Microsoft Word and you have a first paragraph, the paragraph heading is H1, and then you have your paragraphs there. The next heading that follows is H2. The next heading just the way of organizing your data. So you can see here. So we have H1 to H4 here. This is H1, this is H2, this is H3, and then H4 and stuff like that. So it's just a way of chronologically like arranging your data that is in a way that is visually makes sense. That is what H is all about. And MDN have all the reference to every part of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all of those web APIs that you need. You can see HTML, CSS, JavaScript, graphics, even HTTP, and all of those things that you need for web development. So everything in terms of web development, anything you develop in the browser, MDN is where to go to. It's like a Bible. Just bookmark this page right here and always have it. Or I always come to it to just read more about things I don't understand, or the new stuff, or see examples of how things works and things like that. It's really, really good. So if you're a newcomer to web development and you need a kind of Bible, a reference to all of these things in web that you don't understand, just come to Mozilla MDN together, and you can search. Let's say images, for instance. You can see images in HTML. You can click on it and you can get detailed reference of how image works and stuff like that, how to use it with example codes and stuff. It's really, really amazing. So go give it a try. So let's get back to where we are. So we have this H1 element. So what does this H1 do? We see that the H1 element represents a section heading. So this is a section heading, and this is one thing I want to take away from this example here. Every HTML element have this what we call opening tag. This H1 here, you can see this H1 angle bracket H1, and then hello. Another one with the slash. This is called the closing tag. Close H1 and then go. So whatever is inside this hello between these two triangles is printed out here. So for instance, we could say like, okay, a world. You can see that, and then it's printed out. So it could be anything. It could be my name, for instance, Peter. See, and it's printed out, and that is how it works. So this is our H1 element. So is have an opening tag, and then it has a closing tag, and that is how it works. So you can read all of this reference. They will still explain the same thing to you. So most HTML elements have an opening tag and a closing tag. So opening tags look like this, the H1. So remember, opening tags, and then closing tags look like this. So whatever you put in between them is going to come out. So between it, for instance, if we HTML is actually forgiving. So if I do this, for instance, so is it Peter is still coming out what? Because the browser is just like, okay, you forgot to put this thing here, well, I will help you do it. But then for good reading, you don't want to do that in your code. So you have to close your H1 and make sure that everything is well closed. When you open a tag, you close it. In the future, you're going to see that we have some tags that are self-closing, and we're going to explain that when we get there a little bit later. So, and then another thing you want to do is that in FreeCodeCamp, it's going to give you a test so that you'll be able to like master what you've read. So it give you something to do. So it's going to change the challenge is that. So to pass the test in this challenge, change your H1 element test to say hello world. So that is what they want us to do. So when I run this right now, you can see it's not running. It doesn't pass the test because your H1 element should have the test hello world, but this doesn't have it. It has the test Peter. So for us to pass this test in this challenge, we just need to do hello world. And then you see our code resets, and then we have a hello world here, and then we can run the test, and then now we passed it. So that's the basic HTML, and that's how it works. And then we're going to go to the next one. Good. So we talked about H1 elements. Another headline or section headline that we have is called H2. Like I said before, we have up to 1 to 6 heading tag. So you can see we have H1, we have H2, we have H3, we have H4, H5, H6, all in our heading tag. You understand? So we could just do that. Let's just print out H2, for instance. If we have a hello world, let's say welcome, just for demonstration purpose. H1, and then we have our H3. Let's say Peter, for instance. So we have h4. So I'll just put another of my name. So it's so you can see what I did here now. So we have h4, this will be h3, and then this will be h2. So now what happens is that HTML is very forgiving because it's just like infer for what you're trying to do. Like, what are you trying to achieve? I already have h2, but you didn't provide the matching h2, you provide h1 here, and it still work. So that is how HTML is designed to be very, very forgiving. You understand? Because yeah, it's markup language. The browser assumes and tries to like present what you've given it in the best way possible. You understand? So by the time you get to CSS or JavaScript, you see that those land are not as forgiving as HTML is. So when you make mistakes, they shout at you like, okay, something is wrong here, you need to fix it. So what you see correctly here is that all of these things are duly formatted. H1 is bigger and then to the smallest. And we have this, the smallest of them all is H6. So H6, let's say I am H6. And then we could close this H6. Typing is hard. Okay, so you can see the biggest is H1 and then the smallest is H6. So those are all the headings that we have in HTML elements. So we have from heading 1 to heading 6, where 6 is the smallest and heading 1 is the biggest. So now let's go back to the app we are building. We are building the cat app. So the challenge here is add an h2 tag that says cat photo app to create a second HTML element below your hello world h1. So we have the hello world h1 here. So the task now is to create an h2 that say cat photo app, and then we close our h2. So that's the task at hand. So you could go and practice also, and let me see, you can comment if you have any questions, and then you can see it passed well because everything is done directly. So let's go to the next challenge and let's keep going. So good. So aside from adding elements, we have to present a lot of information to our users, you know, like paragraph, like content, like all of this information say paragraph. So how do we present paragraphs to our users? So HTML is clever. They have a paragraph tag that we could use to present HTML paragraph document, and it's called p element. So it's so easy to use, like it's simple. P element also has closing element, so we could put I am a p tag like we do, and then we can close it with p. So and then we have this paragraph here, I am a p tag. So it's as simple as that. You can put as much information you want to put in your paragraph tag there. So let's say, for instance, let's create another one, another p tag, and then we close it here, p tag. So and you can see we have all of this information here. You can create as much as possible paragraph tags. So you can see, you repeat them, and then you're going to have all of this information, and with you can see the space in between each paragraph to show that these are paragraph tags. So you can see, and that is really cool. So as a convention, all HTML tags are written in lowercase, and that is one thing you will have noticed. You can see h1 is in lowercase h, and h2 lowercase h, and p tag also is lowercase p. So and that's it. So for this elements, now create a p element below your h2 element and give it the text hello paragraph. So the task here is we create another p, so just say hello, and then we call it what, paragraph. So we have our paragraphs. Now we can see we have an h1, we have an h2, we have a paragraph element also, which are about having an opening tag, and then it has this closing tag. That's good. Then we can run our test now, and it passed correctly, and then we can move forward to the next one. Yeah, so FreeCodeCamp is actually amazing, and they have the run is the foundation. So if you need to donate to the foundation, please do. It's really amazing. They are doing a great job, and they provide all of these contents on this platform for free, which is really, really cool. So right now we are going to do placeholder test. So placeholder test, we call it lorem ipsum. So lorem ipsum are like, for instance, when you are building web applications and you're building like a project with a fictional project, and you need a lot of text. You can't be coming up with all of this text by yourself. So you can use lorem ipsum. So lorem ipsum are just like a placeholder text that you can use in your project to just put text, on the screen. So because you don't want to be writing and making things up, it's really difficult writing, So there are a lot of platforms that have all of this lorem ipsum stuff that you can go to loremipsum.io, and you can generate different kinds of lorem ipsum that you can use in your project. It's really amazing, and we can be using this. So you can see, so for instance, like we could create replace the text in your p element with the first few words in this. So we could just copy all of this and then just put it there, because we need our paragraph to be a lot of words, and then we can't be making up things. Then lorem ipsum actually help us to be able to create those. So which is good. So if you are working on your project and you need fictional text to give sense to what you're creating, just use lorem ipsum, and then we can create that, and then that is really good. So you see that you've been writing some amazing HTML5. It's that easy. So now we're going to talk about commenting and uncommenting HTML5. So what is commenting? So sometimes you want to put a queue in your code, or there's some code that you don't want to use anymore, but you don't want to delete them, but you want them to be around in your code base. So, and that is where this comment in HTML works for. You can see that all of this code here, they are still HTML, but they're not printing out anything. Why are they not printing out anything? Because of this comment tag. So because it's enclosing from top to bottom, it's telling you that all of these elements in this arrow closing and stuff like this, I don't really know what this is called, but then that is the symbol for commenting, the beginning and the end. So don't display them at all. So for instance, if I move this and then I move it in here, so you can see the paragraph is comment out, but the H1 and H2 are showing. Interesting, right? And then if we want to remove all of the comments, we could just remove them, and you can see the commenting one. This is showing here, but we can still remove this, and everything is coming up. And then for instance, I can do this, and then so you can see, then I commented out the H2 and I left this. And also you can use comments to do different things, to leave messages in your code for other developers. Like I could say, okay, this so I want to write a comment at the top. My first HTML code. So that's how you use comment in HTML, and it's pretty straightforward. Just remember this symbol. Any element that this is surrounded is commented out. So it could be plain text like this, just to leave a comment or message for yourself, or it could be an HTML tag, just like we comment out a code in this way. So it's worked in the same way. So so for this to pass, uncomment your H1 and H2 and P elements. So now what we need to do is we want to uncomment all of this, and then we can uncomment this. So yeah, so all of them are showing up now, and then we can run our code. Everything is working as expected. Good. So we've learned about commenting out. So now we're going to do staggering commenting. So we comment out your H1 element and your P element, but not your H2 element. So we want to add comments to our H1 element, and then we want to, so that's what we need to do. So we comment out H1 element and the P element, but not this. So all of these, both of these are commented out, and then the H2 element is showing up, and that is how that will work. So also you can delete anything on your screens. Like we created them, right? You can still remove them if you don't want to comment them. So delete your h1 element so we can simply simplify our view. So if you want to delete anything, just like highlight it and press delete. So and then they're gone forever, right? As simple as that. So and that's how you delete things on your code. So you can add code, you can delete, you can comment, you can uncomment, and it's amazing. And this is the beginning of your journey into building websites, you know, and this is really really great. Okay. So before we move forward, so this will be the last section in this place, because this video is I've gone a little bit farther, and so I don't want to like waste so much of your time. Even and not I don't want to go too fast. I don't want to be too slow, but in between. But if you have any questions, just ask me in the comment section. And so I'm going to stop right here, and we're going to kick off from this place in the next video, introduction to HTML5 elements. So where I'm going to explain different HTML5 elements, the difference between HTML5 and HTML, and why do we have this kind of different names, so you could just like understand the concept. Thank you very much, and see you in the next video.